tree here, statistics would agree with you. As we started with the bans, it is the Maverick gone first. And this is always a bit of a thing on Clubhouse, like which operators are going to be banned. Are we going to see a lot of Heartbreach bans? Are we going to see Thatcher banned? Or are we just going to leave everything open? Because it shapes whether or not it becomes an attacking or defensive side.
You've gaslit me.
What have I done?
W7M did beat BDS.
When?
You're reading your chart
wrong. I'm reading it. Yeah, I'm reading it wrong.
You made me doubt myself. I was right.
I'm sorry.
I was right. I can't believe you've done this, Hap.
I'm sorry.
You're supposed to be a stat genius. I
can't read.
Ignore everything I just said to try and apologize for a mistake I did not make. It was Hap's mistake.
Back to the bans. You see that Montaigne ban?
I'm thinking it's a target.
Yes, they did.
They did beat one of the best teams in the world on Clubhouse. W7M are a scary Clubhouse force.
Which even reinforces all the points we've just made.
I just want everyone to know I was right.
That's fine. It's okay. I'm sorry. I cannot read.
Hey, we're on Clubhouse. W7M
yes.
on this map. And Church and Arsenal is where we are going to start. Solus, once again, they were in all over the shop on the previous map, and I expect that to continue here. Both teams use them very well. We even saw a great take on the read of somebody on their drones and the camera. But different map, different play space, a little more width and a lot more Clubhouse. Regardless of whether the fact that it's a permaban for Elevate, everybody knows Clubhouse.
Elevate actually also beat BDS on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're redeeming yourself now.
I'm just saying, I've learned to read. Thank you. But I was just going to be talking about the bands. Montaigne band.
Yes.
Is but like Montaigne, I instantly start thinking about that top floor, walking them up to rafters. That's something Elevate likes to do, but W7M has denied them the opportunity to utilize that tactic against them.
It is also something that is sort of synonymous with APAC. They play it quite a lot. It's one of the things that would have been used against them by Cyclops when Elevate last lost that map 10 months ago, however long it was. So it's something where they're limiting the play. The Izami removal as well, I think it's fair enough. I think you could see that W7M were sort of a little bit troubled. Not entirely, obviously, they won the map out, but it slowed them down more than they would like. So get rid of the Izami, force Elevate to have to play without her. It's an operator that they obviously love.
And well, 30 seconds have passed. Still some players up on the top floor of Elevate, and W7M not really worried too much about it. It seems like they want to go for the bare basics here. Open up kitchen, open up the floor, open up dirt, see if you can maybe force a plant that way. The only true trouble you might find is Onigiri right here below has these impacts he can use to get rid of Excaros, but that's probably not going to be lasting. Mark, though, finds Hurts. He's going to be quite hurt himself, instantly taking down by JV92 in afterwards. So the trait comes through for the opening kill. And this will allow W7M to basically continue with their plan of opening up those basic points to see if they can make a plant stick.
Well, the breaches come across on the hatches as we start here. Once again, we talked about the importance of hard destruction, and we do have one in the pocket. Julio is playing the role of the Hibana, but you still have those sort of pocket breaks. You don't have to have two hefty hard breaches to dig your way across the fight here. As Mark said, traded out either side. The hatch is going to be easy to get picked up. But yeah, Mr. Punch, he's up there all the way inside logistics, but they don't really care at this point. The flashes are coming through. They're looking for the pressure that they can apply onto the site itself. They've got the smokes, got the covers, got the blinds. They're inside on the back of blue as well. They're trying to dig themselves across. They suffer a bit. JV92 is blinded as well. There's everything covered, but as long as Julio can hold F and get this stuck, that's the important part. Onigiri, they're pre-firing, they're pushing. They're able to take out the third box fight. There's a break, there's a swing. There's the kill and revenge. KZ is all that's left, not for very long. And well, they're able to get it back round. They get Mr. Punch back up. They get the kit. And after a bit of a rush.
It was a very chaotic end there that we saw. I mean, I said it to you the first start of the round, right? Like, they're going to be taking dirt. They want to take kitchen, hatch under control as well. They basically failed to do that due to the fact that the player was still up on the top floor. They didn't bother with taking that under control. They didn't bother sending anybody up to that top floor, which meant that it was just going to be harder to take it out. So instead they went to blue so they could go for a bit of a pinch maneuver from that way. They get the plan down, but because they were all blinded, the enemy couldn't see them, but they couldn't see the enemy either, right? So it's like you're all going to be bunching yourselves up in just like 2 square meters. It's going to be very easy for these defenders to just start collapsing on you.
Elevate got the first round of the previous map. There was obviously a different map, different play space, but if they can try and thread 2 together, well, that's something that they've not been able to do throughout this play day so far. They weren't able to really find any distance or difference here, and you know, for all that we talk about it being a preferred map, and for all that we talk about it being something that's sort of played away, it's also hidden away. W7M will have nothing about Elevate on Club that's any recent relevant data. They'll have to try and sort of piece together pushes and do something a little bit more default, and default doesn't always work against a team like Elevate who love to play around with the map.
Yeah, for sure. Elevate is also a team that likes to move around a lot and suddenly just pop up in these random positions that you might have just thrown out, and suddenly they're there, just throwing a spanner in the works. But as they go on, there's just those first 30 seconds again. It's W7M getting themselves in position, trying to set themselves up for a push eventually, then getting those drones inside the building, doing some preparative work and opening up windows and trying to go for a bit of a challenge. I believe that was DCH that almost got caught off there by rotating through in front of that window. Yeah, Exothermic is ready, but still some utility out there stopping them from going through. The EMP ready to be tossed in as well. There should be a double push. No. Just the bear opening. No electricity there, so they can all just fall off because that wall's been opened up.
Yeah, just making sure that nobody's there to try and trick and play against the wall with the stun. It's a pretty standard way of getting that broken open, and there's the pressure that comes from the range of the Selmas. We are going to see some of this growth and play against it. There's a lot more hard walls to break through. Oh, and there's a take. They were watching it before, but DCH returned to P90 from range. It's been a while since we've been able to call the success of that gun that sort of dropped off the face of the earth, but has found itself popping back into a little bit more of the security of the game.
So a really good pick, of course, on Solace. All right, to fire, big magazine. You're just going to be able to stay in a fight for just a little bit longer there. But either way, it's the entry kill again, and more importantly, it's the Thatcher gone. So the Selma that had been placed on the bathroom wall is not going to be popping up so easily. They need to get an explosive in there to make that happen. As DCH is rotating all the way around, he just spotted a drone in the basement there. I don't think he's actually turning around to shoot. I'm not quite sure if it was active at that point as well. Oh. Either way, that's going to be another spot to come through. Not the response instantly, though, but Keys and Volts both will find a kill.
There's Mr. Punch with a hop out. Is able to take care of at least one of them and make sure that it stays as a 3 versus 3. But last time we saw DCH, he's on the other side of the world. So he's got to see if he can try and get himself rotated back around. Mr. Punch, though, I said on the previous map, he was a big part of the reason that Elevate were able to fight themselves through onto the top and how far they got in their previous run. And here, wow, we need to see him show up a little bit more than he did in the first map. Onigiri pulls himself back, Hurts knocking on the door, but they sort of make a statement of saying no passing through here. You can see the bubble in the top left corner, a Jim that's getting the read, and Julio, he gets caught out in a bit of a scrappy fight. 28 seconds, and the push is trying to get itself isolated. Mr. Punch is gone inside Jim. Onigiri's going to push up and try and replace him inside the bedroom itself. You can see DCH is making the rotate round on the back end of the main stairs, but he's also gone back down now. He's tucked underneath. He's hoping he gets the call on the plant. The Solace can see exactly where the kid is. He just has to time it. There's the fight here on the bed. They cannot have the bullets pass through. And that is why you plant up on hopped up surfaces. Almost a huge play. Now he's got to make a bigger one to pull this one back.
Good call coming down there, though, from W7M. They spot one going outside, and no, one is still inside of construction. DCH needs to make a gamble now. He needs to find one. Jumps out for the first, but doesn't connect. Julio locks it off. That is a very good and well late round from W7M there, because again, by the way, opening kill from Elevate turns into a 3v3, but they muscled themselves through the drop down because they thought, you know, we have to get our solids. We can see through the floor if the plank comes down, just not realizing the bed was going to be the one safe haven. And W7M did. They used it. And they win the round as a result. And that is going to be making sure that Elevate will be thinking twice about dropping down in future rounds.
It's always that sort of moment where that could be the biggest play. That could be the biggest sort of clutch round.
It could be, yeah.
It's
when it comes down to a 7-5 or, you know.
But the only intel that you're working on is the intel that you got from the pocket. The only intel that you've got is, well, I know where they are, and, well, we've known hop-up places for a long time. There's a big comfy bed in the middle that is made of bulletproof materials, Kevlar.
Yes, you know, I'd like to sleep on a Kevlar mattress as well. It's just for safety, just...
Yes. I cannot imagine it's a nice sleep.
There's actually 2 mattresses. That might be the...
Oh, wow. That's why. That's why you
there.
have the second mattress, the mattress protector. Is it just something that happens in Germany? We'd have to ask Milos.
Would have to ask Milos, indeed. Yeah. It doesn't happen in the Netherlands, at least. Kevlar mattress.
But, yeah, I don't think it's the thing. And there it is. The play works against them here. We find ourselves on what is a bit more of a stretch of a site. You've got the breakthrough. It's a vertical hold. If you're not too sure of how this likes to pull itself together, you sort of get yourself stacked up above. You can do an extension into kitchen across the corridor, but most teams on approaching this will try and clear construction across the middle. They'll try and get that hatch control, and then they'll try and plant just on the side of stage or tucked in on the brick wall.
The early use of the Twitch there did quite well in terms of taking out some of the Goyo canisters. Of course, Mr. Bunch has gone himself now as well, but a lot of the fire he placed earlier down is also off the board. So basically, the Goyo not really having any effect so far in this round. DCH is going to be taken down as well. It's a double entry for W7M. They'll be more than happy with that one. All they need to do now is just hold tight and make sure they collapse around the last remaining players.
Mark waiting for the knock on the door, hoping they swing around without the intel, but you can see they're aware of a dangerous fight. The pre-fire comes with the connection. They are really trying to get the catch, and Herds pushes and pushes the player out of position. As I said, it's a game of shepherding towards this plant, and they're going for what seems like that standard default take. They're getting that break open. Onto stock, onto the stage. There's one take. There's a fight back over the hatch, and Sapper, a huge kill above. They're waiting for the approach to come round. They've got to rotate there on the back end, and Sapper sends JV92 to bed, but the berry through comes into the site. They've pushed all the way to bar. They realize they can't quite get where they want to go. They're waiting for the pings. They're trying to find it. It's the 2 versus 1, the reverse of how they had it before. They got to move off the previous position. It is something where Sapper can make his own intel. He gets the down onto 1. Julio, with all his years of experience in the 1 versus 1 and a minute on, what can they do? Do they know the plant's coming down? It doesn't seem like he has quite the awareness. We're now in a post-plant situation. Lost the call on the audio, and Julio can suddenly hot-footed out there, pulls himself back, watches towards the hatch, and this is the perfect place to watch Sapper. Is he aware of the danger? They're looking for the fight. The drop is Julio's!
Almost a 4v1 clutch coming down there from the last remaining player on Elevate, but Julio, with all that experience, decided to just pull back, just waited patiently. They had information on any of the other exits he could have taken, and the hatch secured. 2-1. W7M starting off on their attack quite strong here. Now, having to go back to Church and Arsenal. This was the first round we had before. And that was all of them trying to push into right behind the AK rack, trying to get the plan down, but they weren't quite able to, well, successfully do that and live after the fact, because they did get the plan down. Just everybody died within seconds before and after. It's almost like one of those important clutches again. Like we said it before, like that plan clutch, that could have been like a clutch on the other side, just that 4v1 that should never have gotten that close.
We've had now 2 rounds in a row where, you know, if W7M had planted in a slightly different position, it would have potentially been the clutch going through from the solace underneath. There, it's experience. It's experience that W7 have now with the guns of Julio. It's something that we talked about before. We talked about it in Jönköping. We talked about how, as a team, they've been able to grow behind just an older voice from the scene, a voice that has played on these stages before.
Yeah.
So this is how we can build around it, and maybe that's the difference maker over a couple of rounds. Can it be the rest of this Elevate? You're on the back foot once again, as I said. You haven't really been able to time more than 1 round in a row against W7M yet.
This is one of those extended barrels we've been talking about before on DCH. MPX has been known to be kind of a pea shooter.
Yeah, it needs all the help it can get.
It needs the help. I mean, the recoil is quite simple. It's just like a small circle that you're drawing if you manage to control it. So this might be very helpful to get like an MPX. Either way. Minute has passed. DCH still roaming around, preparing himself with a C4, hoping that if logistics does get taken, because remember, that's where they were last time, so they're hoping that they're actually going to take for that control, then start opening up vertically, then they can blow them up. to take them down, but I believe that Volps might be able to collapse on them. There you have it, where Herds, DCH taken out, and that's the entry.
We just saw the rotate there. They had the call of the player inside where they heard the rip and the tear, but they've lost. Very open, a very easy pickup there from the guns of W7M. Just had to position themselves with a bit of width, hold the fire for a little bit longer in here. Now they have that control over the top 2 stories. There's still a bit of a buzz from a bit of a pre-place. There's still some attention being paid. The Impact is attempting to trick off anything that is on the kitchen hatch itself, but there's no huge pressure for time yet from the sides of W7M. Everything is going to pace apart from that. Volps, at least they'd got most of the work done as the sledge, but now there's going to be a little bit more work for the others to do.
Still to worry about someone being upstairs. They're looking up those main stairs as Keys is going to be taken down by a quick swing from a Nagiri right behind the boiler. Of course, playing with that MK14 on the Aruni, that DMR, that is close and dear to his heart. That brings Elevate back into a leading position right here. W7M, the last time they were able to push for that plan, they were able to get that on the board whilst losing members. Now they're going to be 1 down, having to attempt the same thing with only 45 seconds left on the clock. It's not looking like they might be able to pull that off. They need to find 1 or 2 more kills to create some space for themselves.
They're going to see if they can get the wall popped open here onto Church, put the players out on the back end and go for the little tuck plant close in. They have the thermite as well to make sure that they have a cleaner access behind a little bit of safety that they can get. But look how close the Solace is. Mr. Punch, how long are you going to sit there? Apparently longer than you expect. Gets the fight, gets the second! The P90 pops off. JV92 at least stems the blood, but there's Sapper on the back end. And Elevate tie us back up to a piece.
I don't want to happen there. He's like, oh, it's going to get opened up with an extra thermic. You know what?
I can go through this.
The perfect move is to just run right through, get myself completely exposed by the person who has been holding me for the entire time, take him out, because why not, and then find the second kill as well. All you can do is just commend him for the bravery he's shown in that play, but that should not have worked. They should have been taken out as soon as that wall opened up, because there was only one place he was going to be able to be. But it's a round for Elevate. It's 2-2. And we go back to bar and stage, where we did see a clutch coming through. Almost a 1v4 clutch from Sapper, but eventually that 1v1 where it was going to be the experience of Julio to come up against it, winning the round for W7M.
Will they go for a little bit more vertical control? Obviously, we saw a great retake that almost came together, as he said. It was a 1 versus 4, and they got through most of them, but just missed out on the man tucked in on the corner of the plant. So it turns into a story now for W7M. Do you send someone else? Do you get a bit more of an eye?
Well, they had 2 people up top. They just got both taken down.
They did.
They just need to be a bit sharper on isolating the player and going for a synchronized push on him, which was that issue later on. Because as soon as it was a 1v3, they knew exactly where it was going to be. There was no reason to lose 3 more members to him, or 2 more members.
Well, once again, the
early
Goyo fire canisters are pretty much all removed from the board. They're going for the break and the pressure here. DCH, the slow creep and crawl of the Solus that's hoping to see somebody on a cam, but nobody is droning as of yet. They're just making things awkward for the players on the top, making them cautious of the rotations. They're going to break through onto construction itself as well. They're limiting all the attention, all the rotations en route, and you can see pretty quickly Elevate is restructuring themselves. DCH has pulled themselves around on towards CC. They had a little bit of a sturdier hold down towards that, but it seems like the exothermic will just pop off on the second. Sapper wants to fight on the back end of it, though.
Is that going to open up? I think it did. Yeah, there's going to be the full bathroom now. Well, see-through for the remaining members of W7M onto that balcony. So it's going to be basically impossible to play. And this is where a lot of the stronghold came down into that top 4 previously when they had someone right behind that mattress. But it seems like it might be falling a bit quicker than they hoped to have gone for the last time around. Now, that's going to be a spot. There's not much that DCH can do with it due to the fact that it's, of course, a concrete ceiling. Not something you can shoot through. I have to call that out as Sapper takes down a drone and rotates off.
Yeah, it was an excessive use of a drone, but look at this. They've smoked off the windows, and there's the catch. Volps drifts a little bit too close to the fire. DCH takes a bit of damage from KZ on the long-range fight towards CC, but it's Mr. Punch that gets the final bullets threaded through. bit of a break here. As I said, they paid more attention towards the top, but it does not matter. Mr. Punch, he does some damage, pulls back as they lose herds on the far end as well. Suddenly it's just JV92 and Julio, but they're able to get one. They look for the next here onto logistics, and it's a trade out from the engagement, leaving just a wounded Julio. Last time, he was able to clutch out technically on the 1 versus 1, but this time he does not see it. Onigiri puts Elevate 1 round ahead, and for the first time today, I said it a couple of times, ties 2 rounds together. Can they make it 3 to get 4 for the half?
Just going to mention it to you. That's the first time they got those 2. They do it to retake that lead in as much that they had in round 1. It's a very unfortunate first death for Volps though, but the full top floor basically held on tight by Elevate. They weren't allowing them in properly, and they all fell trying to attempt just that. And now towards the gym and bedroom. We will not see Elevate play CCTV, at least not in regulation.
If you're wondering why, people at home, it's because it's become the easiest to attack.
It's bad now.
It's really rough now. It's so formulaic to a degree. There's not a huge amount of wiggle room you can sort of do with it. There's not a lot of safety with gym bedroom, with the bar. You can go for extensions across the whole floor that have a little bit more growth in. You can play construction and logistics a little bit more. You can place them underneath a little bit
you can.
as well. CC doesn't really offer that. Underneath is pit, and there's a big double door and a window on the opposite side to watch in, and the swing round from stock. It's dangerous. You can control garage, sure, but most teams know how to get control back of garage. With an Azami off the board, it's even trickier. You can't even try and restructure things. It's just, at this level of play, too familiar.
Yeah, and of course the Monty ban, you know, that's going to be making it harder for the attackers, but still, there's plenty of ways to deal with the mezzanines and to take garage. And like, to me, if teams pick CCTV, they know they're better gunners than the opposing team against, right? But here at 6 Invitational, like, it's so even that level in like an average that you don't really want to take that risk, especially not if you're Elevate and you are currently a map down already.
So gym is where we go. This was obviously almost the clutch before, but almost isn't quite the biscuit. The grenade pressure from underneath. They want to try and force out the players on the top of red first. They have drones, they have Mr. Punch. KZ is able to get a bit of revenge from the previous round or so, and now they're going to focus down on towards Mark. Caught out by a drone, they have some attention and awareness, and KZ's got themselves caught out on the rotate. It means that they cannot just tuck their way across. At this moment in time, they are playing their life. Oh, they put some damage in, they tried to get the shield broken, they tuck them tails around, and they're looking for the next fight. The pre-fire comes! Mark gets some revenge, he's right by a drone hole, and DCH is here, offering some moral support, but unfortunately it's not enough. Oh, it just might be! A bit of revenge and a bit of a pullback. They at least keep the body balance even. There is Volps and KZ gone. They still have Hertz to potentially lead through with the Iana, and they still have the fabrication of hard breach that's going to pop on the opposite side. Sapper is in a dangerous position. He's playing a bit of a risk here. If he can get the swing round, it could be deadly. If he's droned, it might not last so long.
No, for sure. As soon as he gets droned, there's basically no safe route out for him anymore. So just a simple drone would be sufficing. Ooh, Julio, are you going to check this? Yeah, that's a player, but he managed to rotate out just in time. So he's going to be in some sort of safe ground now. But it will allow the W7M members to start moving up towards construction and actually put up the pressure onto the side because there's no one in gym.
JV92 holding onto the windows, just misses it, but Sapper does not. Swings back round, Hertz tries to get some revenge, but lost out on the pre-fire fight. Julio does finally stop it. But now Julio is on, once again, the wrong end of a 1 versus 2 clutch. He was able to pull it out before. Got the plant on the bed and then put the pressure from the rest of the round. But here, what can he do? 40 seconds is a bit of time and a bit of wiggle room. Onigiri and DCH, though, they're 2 operators that give themselves a lot of intel potentially on the backboard. And you know that Mr. Punch and Zapper are watching a bubble apiece. You can see the one on the top. They know exactly that the player is here. There is Jim and there is a Maestro bubble that's making things so awkward and uncomfortable for players that aren't even there at this moment in time. They've pulled themselves back. They're peeled round. There's one on the back end. I'm not even sure where the other has got themselves tucked in. Oh, there they are. And there they go. Dropped, lost the aggressive swing. It's 10 seconds left. They're going for the plant. DCH, he hears them pull off. They've still got the cam. They've still got the intel. They've still got the read. There's the second pull back. 5 seconds. He's waiting. He's pulled back. He's rotating around onto Jim. And he's out of time.
Didn't quite want to stick the plan there. He knew that as soon as he was going to, or as soon as that clock hit 0, he was going to be pushed and there was nothing he could do. So decided to go for the gunfight instead, but sadly not biting on Elevate's side, which will leave them with an extra round and put themselves up 4-2 3 rounds consecutively won by them here. But now the round swap or site swap will come through, and that means they'll be on the attack against W7M's defense. This is where it also needs to connect. They cannot stop putting up this pressure now. Because if W7M manages to get back into it, if they take those next 2 rounds, it's going to be a very difficult second half for ELV.
Now's a moment for surprise. Obviously, this is where the coin flips. If I'm going to talk about W7M not really having a huge amount of intel to go on based on what ELV like to do, it's kind of the opposite right now. W7M, there's loads of footage on this map, and there's footage of it played at the highest possible level. So, Elevate, what have you been able to piece together? You've still got to win it out. Knowing is half the battle. The other half is a battle, and the ability to swing guns into your opponent's face. That is the pressure. That is that point for Elevate, and that is where we're going to have to see if they can try and keep that pace going. Sapper and Mr. Punch are having phenomenal games, but they might need a third effect to come in here.
Yeah, we spoke about it that the previous time these two teams met, it was Onigiri that, you know, needed to step up a little bit earlier to give themselves a good fighting chance. But you can say the same about DCH or Mark at this point. If just some one of them is going to be able to connect even more, that could be enough to land Elevate this map in their pockets. As a spawn peek attempt was quickly averted, by the way. Hertz was trying to peek in from New Blue, but instantly got some rounds back his way, so he decided to fall off, and that allows Elevate to play with a bit of more freedom now and less concern, because I don't think they're going to be trying to go for another spawn peek right away.
Holding themselves in, getting some attention paid towards Dirt. They know that there's a player around there roughly, or they might have some idea based on audio, but that mute jam is going to stop anybody getting the true read in. They're hoping to maybe get a catch on an ankle or 2, but otherwise there's nothing too thrown in their favor. Elevate sometimes can be a bit slow and cautious on their approaches here, and it gives W7M time to think, but also time to stew. They're ready to utilize their utility at the correct time. They still have a pocket ADS for a reason, but they also have a couple of C4s and a couple of impacts. So the longer the game goes on, the more dangerous those become.
As I have to say, we had a Dokkaebi ban in the last map, and Onigiri might be here to show as of why. there's an MK14 on that operator. He loves these DMRs, but also the ability to lock anybody, dead or alive, out of their cameras. And that might be crucial if they want to go for an approach, for an attack to, well, stop any piece of utility that might be remote controlled.
Oh, JV92 has the pocket and the angle and waited. It's not the most common place to see a player, and that's why it took them a bit by surprise there. They've rotated themselves back around. They're going to see if they can try and, I guess, still build behind it. But a minute on and Elevate now can start the cacophony of explosions over the hatches. They're putting the pressure onto Kitchen. You assume Moto will get popped open as well to give themselves the width to do this. The push and the breakthrough onto Church itself. Those Selmas are going to get muted out. They're not quite going to be able to pop off, and well, there's not really anything to get rid of those apart from some pressure from above.
Yeah, Impact's coming through, and the only person currently carrying Impact EMPs is going to be Onigiri's. On the other side of the map, so he's not going to be able to help as quickly, needs to rotate around. Not sure if that happened in the meantime, but that is going to be DCH just spotting out the player in there, inside of Dirt. They know that is going to be another problem they will need to deal with here as Keys is leading back into the fight, blows up a C4, doesn't get a kill, but JV92 will.
Yeah, another important take there for the guns, and you're looking at 15 seconds, so can they try and dig themselves through? No is the answer. JV92 able to get one more for the round as Volps ties it together. Onigiri, all that's left, but with 5 seconds to try and find his way through to the site. He at least stops the flawless, but JV92 stops the round. 4-2-3, and their first defense is theirs.
Bit of a disconnect in Elevate's attack there if we're looking at the bigger picture, because we had the breaches going down from the main stairs on Triple Wall, for example, or at least the attempt of breaches to come in. But the only person carrying the Impact TMPs was on the other side of the map, holding down a tight angle next to the boiler, not being in a position to move out quickly without someone being there to take his place for him. So that wasted a lot of time and basically turned into that Hail Mary attempt that we saw by someone pushing down the hallway, the hedge drops coming through, and all of them being shut down one by one due to the fact that it's just not effective that way. The basement requires a lot more work to be done. You need the entry kill as well, or at least an extra person on your side to often trade out what is often that massacre you walk into.
4-3 Elevate. you still have this advantage, you still have this lead, and you just have to try and find that confidence once again. Losing the opening gunfight is something that on their attacks seems to slow them down quite a bit. They came up with the idea of, well, we've got to just hit the hatch. Okay, at least they came up with a plan B, but the plan B was not great. It throws you into a tricky situation there. They had to remove their pressure elsewhere. They couldn't quite get a lock in. We saw, as we said, on Aguirre, he was the only one with pocket EMPs, and he was on the far side of Narnia, and even hit the rotate by the end of it. So
we were playing CCTVME, and you know what I just said? Like, the sign's kind of bad now compared to the rest, and you really only play it if you're confident you're better at gunning than the other side, because it is just that step-by-step program that literally anybody can follow. Which makes it so dangerous to use as a defensive map now, or defensive side. Skis is the first one to fall after. Why is he in front of the open breach? That is weird.
Instantly on the open breach. Hertz might have himself caught out a little bit. If DCH is aware, it's impossible to rotate out of kitchen. At that point, you're just trying to survive for as long as possible, but you also hold a player out of the engagement. However, if this locks itself into the 5 versus 4, if KZ does not get picked up, he does, it can be a bit of a dangerous trade-off. Julio almost gets caught out on the rotate background. JV92 is waiting for the fight from range, looking for the angle. Hertz does find DCH, though. Gets the catch on the back end, bites their own escape out of it, and, well, that's a massive kill to take.
They weren't aware of the fact that Keys had been down, as Mark is going to be able to find a kill on the opposite side of that top floor. And there's phone calls coming through right now. That means all the cameras are off. Everybody's having that ringing sound in their pockets. So if you were hiding before, well, you no longer are. They will be aware of your position. Zanagiri is fully aware of someone being out there, but JV92 had these sixth sense tingling and is rotating back up quickly.
Yeah, that's siege timing, and 4K right there just pulls back, and they've gone for the rotation round and the pressure onto the back end. They have the 2 big breaches, and you sort of do this sort of take if you don't think you can convincingly get control of Garage. It means things can become a little bit more spicy for the player in that situation. They got to see if they can try and force the player out of red is the next big drive. Smoke's popping over the side. They're getting themselves covered. You look at KZ, you look at Julio, both quite injured. It will just take a bit of a scrap and a scrape from, well, guns at this point. All the grenades have been thrown and used. And Hertz from under the hatch takes the head off of Mark. And I said it could have been big that he was caught out inside kitchen, and he's proven that the escape is the bigger part. The pings came through. Sapper couldn't quite get connection. 30 seconds. And they're trying to drive the kit into the site.
Another phone call coming through, which is going to be allowing some safety for Sapper here, who's currently inside. They are aware of the fact that someone is on rafters. If they manage to kill him, a plant can happen. But no, he's getting taken out from below. It's Keys from the lounge and JV92 to take down an Aguirre. And it's going to be another round for W7M, and they are bringing it back to 4-4. And I just have to say, it started off perfectly for Elevate. They open up the wall, they get the injure, not aware they got the injure, so the pickup comes through. And then they had a player locked out inside the kitchen, which they then had to let go as well. Everything seemed to have been going Elevate side, but they missed the kill on both opportunities they had right there. And that's how W7M managed to get themselves back in.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
Yeah, it's turning into a bit of a problem here. The loose threads of W7M are really causing these issues for Elevate. Elevate think that they've got the awareness, they think that they've got themselves, and they're taking their time. And that's that sort of trade-off, is if you're going slower, you assume you know more. You assume your control is more succinct and direct, and you can pay attention to the things that matter. But if something goes wrong like that, like Hertz being able to fight their way out of what is a deadlock, they are stuck there. In that situation, you know, you can sort of hit the hatch and get a big rotate there, but at that point you know that the player's moved off, and you know that you can, okay, still sort of get yourself some control over the sets. You can still sort of put yourself in those positions. They went for the fight option, they took it, they lost it, and it just allowed Hertz to then go, okay, well now I have everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because the whole map is
ground floor is now mine.
Yeah.
And that's painful for Elevate, for sure is. But there's still plenty of opportunities to get back into it. We are seeing Blackbeard on the board.
Nice.
And Aguirre's not using the DMR, he's using the MK17. Quite a hard-hitting rifle as well at the same point. Using those shields potentially to hold on to the repels or these kind of areas a little bit better, just so you can tank 1 or 2 shots before you get taken out. It could be the difference maker.
Could be. It's down to, I guess, Onigiri to try and find the confidence to make it happen. You can see confidence is still in spades for W7M. Herds has the angle up from Jim. He's looking down potentially towards anyone that might be hitting the opposite side. They have some control. They also still have Solus. They still have the eyes on the gadgetry that's otherwise being popped itself together. There's a drone that's just been caught out, and that is what Solus will do. And from this range, from this story, a lot of stuff that will find itself threaded into the site will probably get caught through the soft.
Yeah, definitely will be. I mean, there's a lot of soft walls and soft floors here on Clubhouse. As another drone gets taken out, there's going to be another 6 in total. Oh, that is just a knock to have been spotting out by hers there, so they're going to be aware of the fact that Sapper is going to try and move in.
Gosh, Solus is pretty good, and well, so is Sapper. Even with the intel that the nuke was coming across the board, KZ gets caught out, and Sapper's given the KZs to the city. They're going to see if they can try and get control of the kit. They have the ping. They know where it is. They know that it's being played off to the opposite side. And Volps finds Mark again. He's been a big part of this hold. He's able to keep themselves locked down and pull Mark off the board, who's had a bit of a bite over the past couple of rounds. The half of the hard breach is removed, but you still have the Selmas.
And it's going to be the worry that W7M, but also Elevate will have. A lot of the walls are still left soft. There's a lot of angles you can be found from, especially if you're getting these pings on your position, because they can just go for a wall bang. They know he's going to be prone now. A C4 will be tossed out, so Sapper's just waiting for that to come through, pulling a grenade, saying like, two can play this game, so you better back off before I will blow you up. And it ends in a bit of a standstill here with, well, ground being forfeited by the side of the defense.
I'm not entirely sure what Elevate are trying to shape themselves up here. They've been caught out on the back end. There's that long fight. It's tricky to take. There's the Blackbeard's shield pop. They don't quite get the swing back round. They take a bit of the damage across the board. But here it just seems that W7M keeps swinging back in. Elevate, once again, slow, stumped. Volps pops off on the back end. Puts them into this nobody versus Volps. Gets the lockout, gets the final, gets the third round in a row for W7M, and gets them only 2 away from taking the first set of a full fat 4 points.
And those 4 points will definitely get them a long way towards getting themselves to the playoffs. Again, a timeout being called by Elevate. We didn't see any coming through from W7M in the last map either. They didn't need it. But the big trouble they ran into here in Bar, Emmy, is, I mentioned it like a minute before the round ended, nothing is reinforced around the bar. Everything is soft. There's ankle holes everywhere. You are not safe if you walk into any of those rooms. But what else can you do? Like, you need to take the rooms at some point. You need to be entering the building. There's no way of shortcutting that. And that's how they found themselves taken out, because they weren't able to isolate the player or locate the player inside of the stage, take him out as a result, because otherwise it would have been safe to move through.
It's that sort of awkward approach that they were doing as well. If you're trying to make the break and it isn't quite happening on the default side, on towards stage, on towards whatever, and instead you're pushing billiards, you need to have a bit of pressure from inside strip. You need to have some damage done onto those big quad walls. You can do that. It's, you know, it takes a little bit of manpower, it takes a little bit of dedication, but it still feels like, if anything, that's synonymous with what we're seeing from Elevate's pushers here. They're cautious, they're slow. You're against W7M. They're the #1 seed. They're a lot of people's favorites, and it wouldn't be surprising to see them in the final, let alone take it. However, you are still here on the back of the work that you've done here. You're still here on the back of, you know, sure, W7M were a little bit wounded in terms of player counts at Charlotte at the beginning of the year. Elevate couldn't go.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing where they could have been a higher seed. They could have been.
10 seconds remaining.
Now, there is going to be a bit of a surprise for some of the people that might be holding onto the bingo card with their hands. There's a Caveira on the board. An opportunity for an interrogation. However, a Jackal as well on the opposite side. So whenever Keys does not use the silent step, you might get spotted out.
Gold lobbies are shaking right now.
Gold lobbies are shaking. They're looking at this game right now and saying, how can I improve Keys? Teach me the tricks of the Caveira.
What?
This
Gold
is a
lobbies are like,
lineup
these are allowed to be played. Caveira and Jackal aren't always banned.
Sometimes not, no. 99% of the times they will be.
It's not actually the first Caveira, if I am reason to believe. I think it was played in the G2 Koi game on the other stream. I don't know how successfully. I'm not quite tuned in there. I don't want to spoil anything as well accidentally, but I've heard rumors.
I've heard the rumors, all right. Well, it might be a a bingo card thing, it might not be, but either way. Elevate, they need to get it together because they've just lost 3 rounds in a row and basically looked somewhat clueless in most of those rounds as well, like not really being able to formulate any attack. The last one, for example, there was no real top floor pressure. Everybody was trying to go in horizontally whilst that was being covered off perfectly, and the way to deal with those players would have been to actually go from the top floor. And well, right now they're trying to quickly open up, but impacts are preventing that from happening. It's going to be making sure that a lot of these Excaliburs are going to be used. I believe that's 8 now in total, unless someone else is going to be coming up with an impact.
The combo there, the Bandit alongside the Kaid. Obviously, you assume that there was a claw potentially on that hatch, although no, it wasn't. They've instead got Blue, and they've got Moto entirely locked in. And that makes things quite awkward. They do have some stretch, some pressure, and obviously the Thatcher's on the board, so they're not entirely locked out for the entirety of the thing, but look at this. They're giving themselves a little bit more room and a little bit more stretch. Julio, he's got himself lined up. That is a prepared angle. That is a prepared
very
position.
prepared.
And that is a C4 where he has practiced this throw a lot of days.
Fine too. There's 2 very close. Keys is coming in as well. He's going to try and go for it. That's 1 injured. Gets a second. No! Is he going for the 3rd? No, he will not. But the C4 might come through. No, it's stuck. He didn't line it up properly, but still, the double kill from the Caveira there. Just, you know, showing how confident they are just walking up that hallway.
I cannot believe with the Louison pistol getting the lead in on the 2 downs, the swing round. Oh, man, it's just a bit of a tragedy there. The cautious nature has suffered. They had the holes and the angles above as well. They were in a position. They still had the chance. There's JV92 with a heavy hitting. Pockets of Kaid, seeing if they can try and stop the drop. It comes round and tucked quite closely. It's been a bit of a slip through the C4. That one definitely connects, and Mr. Punch is left watching down the long angle. DCH gets caught on his drop on the kitchen hatch as well, and well, he's at least able to get one before the door gets shut, and it might be closed and locked. 6-4.
It's not looking good for Elevate here in the slightest. I mean, just the Caveira walking in and getting that double kill. I mean, that could have happened with any gun. That's not specific to the Caveira in that case, but that just shuts down a lot of the approach. And what did we see from Elevate after that happened? They dropped the hatch with the diffuser. That's what they did. Yeah, not quite the interrogation, but you know, it's still that double kill, still did the job. And the C4 coming through, and then the round was over. There's nothing. That's it. Like C4
the thing is,
gets dropped. There's no control.
With that Cav play as well, got the double, swung around, saw that there was a 3rd person, pulled back,
and killed the 2.
and then pulled out the SMG to kill the 2. That is just everything you need to do in that situation. If you are, we joked about it before, but if you are a Cav player and you're looking to improve, it's not all about interrogations.
No, it definitely isn't. First of all, it is about securing the kill, right? That's your most important job.
Yep.
If it's safe to go for an interrogation, you go for an interrogation. If it's not safe to go for it, you secure the kill, you take the 2nd fight. You don't want to take the fight and lose it, and then the person gets picked back up, and you suddenly gave away the entry kill. Either way, Keys is ready with a impact. Might be wanting to use that one on any of the claymores that might be placed outside of his door. That is almost guaranteed going to happen. Although the only person carrying them is going to be Onigiri, and it seems like he's using them on the other doors, so not really worried too much about it. It is going to be the rappel up. That's going to be the entry kill as well, and Keys will escape with his life as he takes down Mark, one of the heart breachers that is in pocket for Elevate. Now they will have to do with the 2 remaining Selmas on Mr. Punch. As we come through, it's going to be the security of the diffuser. It's still afraid of anybody being around in the garage. Evil Cam had been taken out, so no need to be upset about that one. But there's still W7M players close to them, below them, ready to go for jump outs on windows. Use those explosives to their advantages. And it's something Elevate need to prevent from happening.
W7M, they are in a very good position right now. They've still got a couple of rounds of wiggle room. They've still got themselves stacked up, and well, now they've got an alternate approach coming against them here. The Bandit in play, the control of the hard walls, the sort of pressure that might be let here. 2 drones feeding on Onigiri, a route through with the Ash. They've moved to a different situation. This could be a bit make or break. Ooh. There it is, KZ. I said at the very beginning they were sort of the 2 players I wanted to see hit heads. The best performer and the worst performer for the two respective teams in the last showdown. And if this is a way for it to go, them getting the trade-off there could be a signifier.
3 members remaining on Elevate. Let it be clear, if they lose this out now, they're not going to get a single point out of this encounter. 4 points will be given to W7M. It's not putting Elevate in a very good position here, but it's what they will have to learn to live with if that's the case. That means these last 3 will have to give everything they have to stop this from getting out of hand too much. There's 55 seconds they have to make that happen. They have a couple of grenades. One gets tossed in, is not going to deal any damage. Player on the steps there as well, staying hidden. DCH has no clue he's there.
I mean, the Bandit ready to swing around. They put down their charges and pulled themselves back. Hertz played a position last time round. The trade-off and the kick getting dropped just on the swing round on the door itself. Another smoke in 30 seconds. And there is a huge take to put all the pressure in the world on Mr. Punch. Gets one, cannot find the second. And W7M get a clean set of points. Did not drop a map the same way they did in Berlin and made the statement, yeah, we are a favorite of this tournament.
And also shows that they can play these best of 3s from the get-go instantly as they get on swinging. On the first game of the 6th Invitational, 4 points will go to them as they take a 2-0 victory. And Elevate, unfortunately, will still be at 0, having to regroup and come back tomorrow.
It was always going to be one of the hardest games for anyone to play in this tournament. It was the one that Elevate said it was going to be a tough one. They wanted to win it, but everybody does. However, this group is highlighted as a group of death. This group is one that might even turn into who has been able to take maps away from W7M is the one that isn't eliminated at the bottom of the board. It's not a great start in that case for Elevate. But there is a lot more possibility. There's a lot more Siege to play. It's best of 3s. This is them for the day. These teams can recuperate and try and have a conversation and see where they can go from it. The rematch wasn't Elevate's this time, but it might not be the last one.
It might not be the last one. They might meet later on in the bracket again because they are done with each other for the groups. You play 4 games over 5 days. This is the first again. They will be coming back tomorrow to see if they can pick a point that time.
You can see that they're a bit beat up about it, but it's the first day of SI. It's the first SI some of these players have played, and it's a year's worth of Siege for their most anticipated game. It's not easy. It's not easy for anybody's money. And, well, it might be easy for our analysts. Oh no, wait, they're both Apex South. We'll throw it to a quick break before we're back with the desk to break that game down.